everyone, and welcome to Get Celebritized. I'm your host, Aurea McGarry, and on these programs of Get Celebritized, I bring you the most amazing people to help inspire you to live more, live bigger, live a big, vivacious life, earn more, and give back more to the causes and people that are most important to you. And each and every week, I bring you amazing stories of hope, inspiration, overcoming, and many times nonprofits as well. And today's guest has been featured in LA Weekly. She is a Burnout Expert. Have you ever felt burnout? You ever feel like you're just going in too many different directions and you're just burning that light bulb and it's going to pop? Maybe it already has popped. Maybe you've already gotten to a turning point where you're thinking, I can't go on anymore and I need help. This is the episode for you. You're going to want to meet and hear from the amazing Becca Boston. And she will tell you she's not from Boston, but that's her line. Anyway, she is a big-hearted, I can attest to that, woman who loves connecting with other people. She has a heart of gold. She's a 2-time best-selling author, renowned speaker, and self-care coach. We all need more self-care. Her motto is stay strong, stay you. And that has reached over 2 million people. She also has a big presence on TikTok with over 26,000 amazing fanatical followers that love her inspiration, her fun, her personality, and her ability to share that motto to stay strong and stay authentically you. Without any further ado, my new friend, Becca Boston, get up here. Hello. Hi, Becca Boston.
Hello, Aurea. So good to see you, my friend. Thank you for having me on here.
I am so glad to see you here. You know, we've been friends now for a couple of months on some social media audio apps like Chatter. We'll give Chatter Social a big shout out because it's a great place for our voice to be heard. And Becca, you've impressed me so much with your constantly showing up on the stages with your voice talking about burning the burnout and to stay strong and to stay you. And you're such a great supporter of people staying authentically who they are, unapologetically. But that can burn you out as well. So let's talk about what not burn the burnout, but what stay strong, stay you stemmed from. How'd that get started?
Yeah, great question. Stay strong, stay you originally started as my motto. It was something that I told myself in the midst of the pandemic.
Remember that.
What a crazy year.
Like went on for 3 years. Lord.
Yeah, but when the world shut down, my world continued to get busier and busier. I wasn't an essential healthcare worker as a caregiver for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But I had also committed 2020 to being like my selfish year, that I stopped living for other people and start living for myself. So when everything shut down, I recognized that I needed a new motto. And I, was being reminded that my strength isn't about how heavy I can lift, how hard I can take a hit, or how much I can handle. My strength is giving my pain a voice and receiving the help that is needed while staying true to who I am. And as I began to share my motto, stay strong, stay you, people just began to be impacted. So today I've reached 2 million people.
That's amazing. Now, during 2020, that was such a crazy year for all of us. None of us came out of that without scars and some pivoting. It just changed the world in so many different ways. And we lost a lot of people and friends and family as well. What did life look for you in 2020? You're saying you were a healthcare worker. So you were already in that industry that took such a beating and got so overwhelmed. Talk to us a little bit about what your day-to-day was like then, and then how you came out of it and pivoted your life because of what you went through in 2020 as a caregiver.
Yeah. I mean, man, the first thing that I'm being reminded of is honestly, I watch so many friends lose their job or get laid off in a wide variety of different ways. And some of them were like, oh, this is extended vacation. Others were freaking out about bills, rightfully so. And I think for me, the weirdest part was I'm still driving to work and there's absolutely no traffic. There is nobody out. It was ghost town. But at the same time, I remember some of that comparison that we can get into, and me having, a stable job where my hours actually increased significantly.
I'm sure they did. Were you in-home caregiver or did you work in a facility?
I worked at a house, an adult foster care home.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to work every day, and yeah, everything began to, really increase with hours, with needs of clients, because, our residents were home too. So we continued to show up. But I do remember being a little bit jealous of, some of my friends that got laid off and being like, wow, it's nice. Like,
Pros and cons. They're home, can't pay the bills. You're at work, but you're about to get burnt out. Happy medium. We need a happy medium.
Yeah, it was like a lot of back and forth of like, okay, I'm jealous of you, but you're jealous of me because I'm still getting a paycheck.
Right. So I can still eat, but you guys have fun watching Netflix.
I think what it created for me, though, to be honest, was the opportunity to invest in some of my friends that, did get laid off, but still had something that I was interested in. So I did invest into one of my really good friends at the time, who is a personal trainer. And I was like, you know what, let me just take the money that I was giving the gym and give it to you, and you can train me.
Nice. What a great idea, Becca. And I'm looking at you too. You're so young as well. And you probably don't think you are, but you are. You're still so young to think about investing. That's such a great message for the younger generation, that's important to do. And it doesn't always have to be in the stock market or something big. It can be in a friend's business that you believe in. I love that. Smart.
Yeah. And
Really
I think it doesn't always have to be with money. Like, how are you liking, commenting, sharing?
Yeah, but I like that it did have to do with money, because so many times we are so consumed in social media and social media content, which is good, and that social media currency. But at the end of the day, to invest your money in something that could grow your money, I'm all for that, for especially the younger generation. I wish I had done that back in my 20s and 30s. But we all make so much money, we're just having a great time and partying and making it and spending it. And then for somebody young like yourself, say, no, I invested in a friend, not just elbow grease, which everybody can do. It's no, I invested cash money. That's a bigger decision. That's a bigger investment, and that will pay off. Because if you keep making good, smart decisions like that to the right people, and people which is so cool, that you can count on their work ethic to be successful, that will pay off in your retirement years, where you can choose to work when you're 65 and not have to work.
Absolutely.
So good for you. So now you're working in the healthcare, in the caregiving. And in 2020, we know all of our friends that were in that, the nurses, the doctors, were so overworked. We saw that burnout from our homes. I didn't experience myself, except my son-in-law is a chiropractor, and he saw, and still to this day, sees about 100 patients a day. But it didn't slow down at all, because chiropractic was still very relevant. And he had to do the whole thing with the wearing the mask and the changing the clothes. It was an ordeal. So it was a full load. So you then, did you get burnout to leave and start this whole world on staying strong, staying you, and burn the burnout? Because did you get burned out during that time? What happened?
I definitely got burnt out during that time. There was
actually, we're not alone.
What's that?
I'm sure you were not alone in that field.
Oh yeah, no, it was really honestly our whole organization. And I remember at one time just watching our whole team, I think, and community just kind of get smaller and smaller and smaller. Because there were some people who were like, I also have to take care of my own health, and they were worried about their own selves, which rightfully so, right? So I think I began to just notice our team and our community of support just kind of get smaller and smaller. And there was one point where we were in a high crisis. We barely had enough staff to continue going forward. And, I was in a position where I could really sacrifice and step up. So I actually moved into the house for several months to be able to provide additional support to live there. Okay. There was an agreement. So I think for me, I was willing to make some of those sacrifices. I was honored to be able to provide that support. But I also, throughout all of this, I think one of the biggest things that 2020 taught me, that it may be somebody who's listening to this, is you can allow the chaos of the world control you, or you can control your world. And I think for me, I had to begin to learn how to control my world and set those boundaries. I think also for me, I had to subtract a lot of things to add value and find myself.
So when people are going through a time of transition, when they're feeling, I think I'm getting burnt out. I think I'm not staying strong right now. I don't feel strong. I need to make a change. What was your aha moment or your last straw or that pivotal moment where you said, it's my turn? Because you saw your staff, the people working with you, trickling off where they were getting burnt out, because everybody gets burnt out at a different time. Everybody can handle it for a different length of time. So what was your aha moment or your breaking point where you decided you can't go on and you needed some self-care yourself?
I think one of them was just recognizing, like, I need sleep. I need
Really? You need sleep? What's wrong with you? Gosh, mine are detailed. You're so needy, Becca.
No, how dare I? But I don't even need just like a good night's sleep. Like I think I really needed like
a nap,
a week-long nap with nobody like interrupting me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think there was a moment where, and I remember specifically, we were trying to be very cautious of, who we were surrounding ourselves around, even outside of our work, so that we could protect our community. And so I didn't go seeing my family for months. And they were, 10 minutes down the road. And I remember fighting and being like, I don't care. You can fire me. You can do whatever the heck you want, but I need a hug.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the case is like, sometimes people just need to disconnect and they just need to be, hugged.
Yeah. Oh, we figured that out during the pandemic too. That was the main thing, that social interaction, that physical touch, because we were all like distancing. We couldn't even shake hands. We couldn't hug. I mean, wow, it was a real thing. And we really realized how much that made a difference in our mental health, how much we did need the hug. When so many people like, I'm not a hugger. Everybody became a hugger when we weren't allowed to do it. I've always been a hugger. But boy, when you're not allowed to do something, it's like all of a sudden you want to do that. And I'm so glad, we were able to finally come out of that, because I never thought we would hug again. I thought this will just be our new normal. And I didn't want that. I said, will anybody ever shake hands again? Anybody ever touch? They were so panicking of all that, especially for those of us that had underlying conditions. Like I only have one lung. And so everybody was worried about me, and don't get COVID, only have one lung, you won't make it. And so it's scary when you have something that could be detrimental, at the peak physical health. And a lot of people didn't know whether they had a bad heart or not until they got it. But all right, so you were in the caregiving, which thank you for your service for sure. And then you go to do what? So you needed the break, you needed the hug. Now you're starting to realize, this is getting too much. How long did you stay before you said, I need to do something else? And what did you do?
Yeah, so I actually stayed through 2024. It wasn't until February of 2024 that I actually was like, all right, it's time for me to step away. Now, mind you, there were several other times throughout 2021, throughout 2022, that I was like, I'm done. I'm going to.
Oh, dude, you're normal. I'm out of here. What kept you from leaving? Because that is not an easy career. You're caregiving. And then you did good 2020. We still had the pandemic 2021. We're still in 2023. We weren't fully out of it all. There was so much going on. And then 2024, I can see we're like, okay, kind of past it now. And now you decide to go on. Were you still full time until 2024? And then you went part-time? Or did you just cut the ties?
Yeah, I continued to be full-time, and often overtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was full-time. I think the thing that kept me was one, I had complete love for the individuals that I supported with. Still to today, like I love connecting with them and all of that. And I think sometimes in life we want to take the escape, we want to quit, and we come up with a plan. But I think sometimes we also don't recognize that God may be keeping us in that situation because we have more to learn, we have more to grow. And that can be a really hard and harsh reality. And I think that was part of my realization was, all right, God's keeping me here so that I can continue to learn, lessons that I need to learn. And that definitely was happening as I was continuing to, stay. I was learning how to set better boundaries. I was learning to, speak up and really create some change. And it it was really important for me to know that I was leaving with like, you know, the best that I could for the community. And yeah, ultimately what led to me quitting was my landlord was like, I'm selling the house. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, alrighty then. Guess we need to make a new move. And what were you doing in the house? Like, what was your job? Were you a nurse? You say caregiver? Who did you care for?
So I cared for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it was a group home of, we had one host that had like 4 people and then another one that had 2. So it was a wide variety of like 6 people.
Okay. And so then they went to sell the house. So you guys were all going to be displaced?
Oh no, my house, I meant like, so I worked at the community.
Okay.
And my house was separate.
Gotcha.
Outside of our community. But I lived in a house with 5 guys. Burgers and fries.
Burgers and fries.
They always
Five Guys restaurant. I get it. I bet there was a lot of burgers and fries living with 5 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, because you had said you had moved in to the facility during 2020. So then you moved back home to the house.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I lost my apartment, never lost my room.
Okay.
I moved in temporarily to help out the community. But I did all
right. I got it. So now they're going to sell the house. So now you have to make a decision, but not everybody makes a decision to leave the career when you're leaving location. So what happened? You moved, your house got sold. So what'd you do? Move somewhere else or did you quit everything?
I received the news and I was like, all right, I have an opportunity here. Like I can, you know, find a new place, continue to live in Portland and continue to keep my job, which, you know, it's a very stable job. But at the same time, kind of ready to move on from it. So I really had to sit time and outweigh the pros and the cons. I was thinking about moving here to Tacoma. I was thinking about moving to Texas. You know, there was a wide variety of different things that I was thinking of. But eventually, I think the thing for me, and I think this is, you know, probably for someone, I had to find the future peace and discover what the future peace was going to look like for me to give me peace in the moment. So for me, that was thinking and visualizing myself in, you know, different places. So for me, when I thought about Tacoma, where I am today, I really envisioned myself, you know, being right near my sister and my nieces. And that really gave me the peace that I needed to make the decision to move from Portland, Oregon to here in Tacoma, Washington. And I didn't have a job lined up. All I knew was I had a roof over my head. I was going to be a block away from my family. And I was willing to take that risk. My family had my back. And I just said, let's do it.
You know, I think you're not alone in that decision during those times too. And people were all more wanting to come home because during the pandemic, people felt so far apart. It's like, I wish I was closer to family. I wish I lived next door to mom or whatever. And then when it opened up again, we're able to make different decisions. Like maybe I do want to live closer to home. When for so many decades, everybody meant they turn 18. We move far away from our parents. You know, why do we do that? And then you realize during that time, maybe I don't want to be so far away from family. And so it brought a lot of people home and closer to home and to care for people. So there's a great Netflix show, and I've told you about it on our rooms many times because it goes to this point. The Netflix show on Living to 100, one of the key reasons these 3 countries have a majority of a large portion of their community, their population living over 100 is one because of being close to family that cares for them. And they don't throw their older, you know, society into nursing homes. Now, when they don't need it, like just don't, okay, you're this age, let's go to the nursing home, play shuffleboard, and we'll live over this side of the country. You live over here. We'll send you. It's a lot more close knit, a lot more having dinner together every night, even when your parents are 80s, 90s, and for them go living to over 100. And they really feel the love, the hugs, the community. They give such great value to the younger generation. The younger generation, you know, gives value to the older generation. So it's so beautiful. I recommend everybody see it because it does bring us back together on that point. All right, now you have written an amazing book, Becca, Burn the Burnout. And you said something this morning in another room we were in on social media. You talked about the light bulb. If you leave the light bulb on 24/7, eventually it's going to go out faster. It's going to burn out faster than if you turn it off and turn it on every day. Like turn out the lights in the room, saving electricity. You're saving the light bulb. And I never thought of that. You said that this morning, Becca. So talk about why you wrote the book, Burn the Burnout, and give us some tips on how we know whether we're getting there or if we're already there in the burnout stage.
Yeah. So I wrote the book based off of my lived experience of being in the caregiving world and really never learning how to make myself a priority and always kind of being accustomed to putting other people before myself. But I also wrote it because I do think a lot of people can get lost in the hustle, of going. We live in such a hustle culture that sometimes we forget that like disconnecting, turning off is really productive. Like rest is productive.
Rest is an action. I remember you said that. You said sleep is an action and we have to take action. And you're really speaking to women today because I find we find it harder to turn off, harder to say no, to think we just will work ourselves to death. And if somebody else needs us at the last minute of the day, we'll say yes versus in shutting up. I really need to stop. We'll keep on going. Well, why is that? Why do we do that?
I think for a wide variety of different reasons. I think we have big hearts. We want to care. We want to, be able to provide that support and love. And I think on the other end, there's, I know for myself, but there's some people pleasing, right? We want to please everybody around us. We want to make everybody else around us happy. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, what's the point of making somebody else happy if you're not happy with inside of yourself? So I think it's recognizing that it's okay to say no to other people so that you can say yes to yourself.
That's really good. That's really good. How do we know if we're there, if we're about to be burnt out, or if we are burnt out, may not know it?
I think the biggest thing usually is that I hear people losing their passion. They're kind of becoming numb to it. I think a wide variety of people are kind of on autopilot. And I think a lot of the time too, you're losing sleep, you're becoming aggravated, and now there's a difference. You've heard me talk about this before, but there's a difference between burnout and compassion fatigue.
Compassion fatigue. Yes, I remember you talked about that. Tell us the difference between burnout and compassion fatigue.
Yeah, so burnout, I say, is a marathon of emotions because burnout is a build-up of prolonged stress throughout time, often related to your job, but I think the world has showed us that it can be from a wide variety of different things. So if you think about this burnout and this marathon, and the build-up, you're getting tired, just like as you would be running a marathon, right?
Yeah.
Experience a wide variety of different emotions. You're gonna want to give up at some point, probably when you're running a marathon. Have I run a marathon? No, but I imagine.
Well, I
know. Yep. So you're gonna be feeling a wide variety of different emotions within this burnout. Compassion fatigue is the physical and emotional and psychological response to prioritizing others before your needs. So this can be, not learning how to delegate. This can be a lack of boundaries. So it can come on much quicker. I often say a good sign of this is like when you recognize you're done peopling, right? Like
done peopling.
I'm done peopling today. I've had it. People have pushed my buttons.
They're all pushed. Sorry.
Right. So
that's so true. You just can't care anymore. It's like my give of care is done. But it's nice to know that you can reset because it doesn't stay that way forever. You just need to reset and focus more on yourself and maybe your intimate family's needs because that never gets old. But yourself before you start to trying to save the world and just regroup. Is that true? Just kind of regroup because you're not always going to not care and you're not always going to be done peopling. You'll get back to peopling. Does it take like a week, 2 weeks? Does it depend on the person or depend how bad the compassion fatigue is?
It's going to look different to each and every single one of us, Mm-hmm. And I always say, first spend time with yourself. I think we live in a world that, we are always on to the next person, to the next thing, and we don't take, mm-hmm. again, be still, but also to just sit in silence. Like, I know so many people are uncomfortable sitting in silence, mm-hmm. but has answers. Silence is where you can have conversations with yourself and kind of pour into your own cup. And it doesn't have to, have to be a long, big thing. Like if you're uncomfortable with it, just start with a minute or two, you know?
Yeah.
So I think and it comes down to self-awareness. You know, I think some people are going to be more aware of what their needs are, and other people are just starting the journey. So it's going to take time, and it's not always an overnight result, but it's an overtime process.
I like that you talk about individuality. You know, I haven't gotten your book yet because it's not like completely out yet in hardcover, but we can get the ebook, and I'm going to put your website up, beccaboston.net, where they can get your ebook right now. By the time people are watching this too, I'm sure it'll be out, so check it out. Burn the Burnout with Becca Boston. I can't wait to get my own autographed copy. And basically, because I hear you talk all the time, because you're on the same social audio app as I am on Chatter Social, and I've really gotten to know you. And you're always talking about individuality, and everybody is different. What triggers us is different. We get burned out at a different time. We'll come back at a different time. What is your advice or your thought process on compassion burnout because of a life-altering event? For example, I think we spoke about this one in the room. When my mom died unexpectedly, she was given just 3 weeks to live, and she lived another 5 months, but it was very quick going from that. And when she died, I remembered I was in Mary Kay, and I did facials and makeovers and peopling and all this stuff. The minute she died, I could care less if women's faces fell off. I couldn't cope. I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't win another car. It was like, I didn't care. I didn't care. It was like total grief. And I didn't come back to work or back even into what I was doing at the time for 2 years. That's how severe it was. What is your advice and your input on trauma that causes that compassion burnout, where it's like, okay, like it's like instant burnout? If you go through something traumatic, it's instant burnout. Like I've done peopling.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the important things to recognize is, like, especially with a scenario like that, or really any trauma, like you're saying, is recognizing that grief is a storm of different waves, and being able to ride each wave, right?
That's a cool visual. I like that.
Yeah, and I think so often people push away the storm. They push away the anger. They think that they have to show up, and face the people or continue to work. And at times at times we do have to show up and work because we have to get the bills paid. But at the same time, I think it's also important to acknowledge the storm and be able to ride those waves of emotions. Your current situation is not your final destination. And I think being able to just be anchored in faith that, things are going to get better throughout time. But the more that we push away the storm, the more likely we are, I think, to really drown in some of our emotions and situations. So I think when it does come to trauma, allowing yourself to, be anchored, but also find where you can receive professional help. Like, I truly believe that, therapy is not a sign of weakness. It is a freaking strength. And
yeah. During the pandemic, you couldn't find one. I mean, they were booked out for years. I mean, it was a thing. So for the younger generation, get into that line of business, because that is really needed. Really, I mean, you'd even be a great counselor yourself, Becca. You're very, just well balanced, and you're a very good listener. So, but it's such a great industry to get into, career industry now. And we realized during the pandemic there wasn't enough. You really need more counselors and therapists and good people, psychiatrists. My brother's a psychologist, but you need psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, the whole gamut. So really, really, really important. And I think people have become more aware of the ability of the importance of getting help too, because we've seen a lot of people just in the spotlight in Hollywood that have committed suicide that we didn't realize was even unhappy. We're looking at one of my favorites was Twitch, who was always so happy and always smiling, and on TikTok, and you just look at him with a beautiful family. The next thing you know, it's like, wow. The same thing happened with Robin Williams. He was like, wow, these people who make us laugh and make us smile, then all of a sudden they're gone. I love the mental health conversation that has come out of the woodwork now, that it's not taboo to talk about it. And those people, unfortunately, for the families, brought it out for all of us to start talking about. We've grieved the loss, of course, and but it brought the conversation to the forefront even more so, instead of being taboo. Yeah. So what are some of the best tips you can give us from Burn the Burnout? This book, I really can't wait for it to hit the stands. Can't wait for it to be in a hardcover. But give us some of the best things that happened from you writing this book. What are some great tips, some great experiences that you kind of had during the time of writing the book, Burn the Burnout? And again, I love the title. We've got to just stop the burnout, burn it to the ground. So talk to us about some of the things in there we're going to learn from Burn the Burnout.
Yeah, I think one of the best compliments that I actually overheard, they didn't say it to me directly, was I was at a caregiving conference a year ago when this was still kind of like I was still trying to get it up and off the ground for myself. But I heard somebody said she actually for once broke down what self-care is.
Nice. Oh, give us a tip. We need it because we all hear that word self-care, self-care. What is self-care? Break it down. Don't give us all the goods. We need to read the book, but give us some.
Yeah. So I think often when we think and hear of self-care, we think about the feel-good activities, right?
Go to the spa, get a massage.
Exactly, right? So we're hearing all about the feel-good things. And don't get me wrong, don't get me twisted. Those we need our Starbucks at times. We need
that's self-care. Oh, good. My coffee.
We need that bucket of ice cream. I know if you took ice cream.
You're speaking my language. Coffee, ice cream. I did not know that was self-care. Look at me go. So I'm gonna live forever.
Right. However, at the same time, I think personally, and a lot of us can relate that, we can get so comfortable within these things. We can allow them to become part of our routine too much. We can get comfortable. And that can cause us to settle in some ways. And I also think self-care is so much more than the feel-good activities. Self-care is so much more than hashtag self-care Sunday, right? Why Sunday? Like there are 6 other days in the week, right? So some of the hard things, right? So changing the narrative in your minds. If you're not speaking life into your life, then you are digging your potential a grave. So I believe that we need to be reminded of the impact that we're making in the world, each and every single one of us have a unique fingerprint that is unique to who you are, and you are leaving an imprint in this world. So being able to change the narrative in your mind. And I always say, start with those positive affirmations, those I am statements. The next thing I do in the book is, break down 6 different aspects of self-care. So we talk about emotional, we talk about physical, spiritual, mental, productive self-care, social self-care, and then we end it with creating boundaries, because I think so often people feel guilty about setting boundaries or don't know where to start. So I always say, start with I am not statements. Like I am
not doing that. Thank you very much. No.
Back to and remind yourself, like, I am not going back to any hate or negativity, whatever those I am not statements are for you. But that's kind of what we do in Burn the Burnout, is breaking down these different
areas. I can't wait to come out. And I have your website down here, BeccaBoston.net, for the ebook version of that. So thank you for that. Well, I love that you said that, the first thing we think of, I know I do, when you say self-care, you think of the spa, you think of sitting back, relaxing, you think about, having a facial, whatever, for a guy, it might be going to the golf course or going to the gym, whatever is self-care to you. But there's so much more when you said that self-talk. Because we could be, drinking that coffee and indulging the ice cream for self-care and really being bad to ourselves, talking bad. And I love what I always used to learn. Would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself? Or would you talk to your daughter the way you talk about yourself? And that hit my home a long time ago, because I could be really self-deprecating in that, I need to lose more weight, or I need this, or I hate my nose. And you realize, would you say that to your daughters? Would you say that to your best friend? It's, oh my God, no, of course not. Then stop saying it to yourself. But we have to have those wake-up calls. So just the fact that you said that's part of self-care is very eye-opening and a really good point to make. So I can see how this takes people through a journey of not just, okay, it's self-care day time, it's time to go to the spa. There's more to it. And now, let me ask you this. Is it a daily thing? Is self-care daily, or can we do it once a week?
I honestly believe it needs to be daily. I think you definitely need to find your rhythm. I always say, hear all the ingredients and create your own recipe, right? So hear different things that different people are doing. that may work for you. I know for me, like getting up and speaking life into my life, also like being able to pour into my cup in a wide variety of different ways before I then go give out to the rest of the world is really important to me. Because if I'm not making myself a priority, or if others aren't making themselves a priority, then you're showing other people it's okay to put yourself last.
You are. And kids do what you do, not what you say. Learned that a long time ago. So, because you can tell them all day long, do this and do that, but you're doing the complete opposite. They're gonna do what you do, not what you're saying. So we got to be real careful, and that's what the world. It's very easy to catch something versus being taught something. So, what's your favorite thing to do before we close up? What's your favorite self-care routine that you do every single day that's just for Becca Boston, who's not from Boston?
Ooh. I think one of my favorites is honestly like just the conversations I have with myself. I find my internal dialogue very hysterical. I think laughing at myself.
What's something you say to yourself? I mean, don't give us personal stuff, but what's something fun that's so used to talking negative? That comes easy. What is something that you say to yourself that makes you laugh?
I don't know if there's anything specific that makes me laugh, but like I mean, I will say like, so when I started out saying positive affirmations, like I started looking at myself in the mirror and honestly making silly faces, like how I started, right? Because it was so uncomfortable. So I'll do things like that, but I also think for me, it's like I like having a learning disability. I make mistakes in a wide variety of different ways, and I've just learned to laugh at my mistakes because we're going to continue to make mistakes, but we shouldn't allow those mistakes to turn into regrets. Mm-hmm. For me, it's just being able to kind of laugh at myself and bring humor to, the situation, because I truly believe that life's too short not to laugh.
Of course. So, instead of saying, when you make a mistake and say, oh gosh, I'm so stupid, instead say, oh my gosh, I'm so human. Here I go being human again today. Because that's what it is. You say, God, I'm so stupid. Or, oh, I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm so human. Here I go again. Say you're human, because we all will have a million mistakes a day. So don't laugh at yourself. Laugh with yourself along with everybody else being human. Because there's no first. I mean, whatever we're going to do, whatever we're going to mess up, somebody else has done it before. It's all good. And we'll probably do the mistakes again and again. It's all being human.
Absolutely.
So are you. I love that. And I love you making your silly faces. All right. As we have to close up, Becca, you've been such a breath of fresh air, such a big light. So excited. Go to beccaboston.net. Get the book. Get the ebook now. And when the hard copy comes out, make sure you get that, because every home will need this, because it'll be good for ourselves, for our parents, for our children, to burn the burnout before it happens. So give us a piece of advice. What say you when it comes to what we can do to not burn out, to burn it before it burns us?
Ooh, I think, like I said earlier, like understand that you are a light and that you're in control of the light switch, and we need to at times, turn that light off. And it's not necessarily turning it off, because it's always going to be within inside of you. However, give yourself permission to disconnect and reconnect to yourself. Know that it's okay to at times also rediscover or redefine or go back to your why. Why are you, choosing to show up? Your why should be so deep that it makes you want to cry, right? So rediscover that why, and know that it's okay every once in a while to have a new why. We're always evolving and growing. So revisit it, tap back into it, and just take the time that you need to disconnect, to reconnect to yourself and your passion, and also know that it's okay to switch lanes.
Pivot, yeah, absolutely, for sure. I'm glad you said that. Give them permission to say, hey, I don't like where I am. If I continue down this path, I will get burnout. So let me stop now and readjust. What do you have in your book, or in your suggestion today, a special resource that people can tap into? Because I know we all felt very alone during the pandemic and such, when we couldn't get a hold of therapists or counselors or help for whatever. It was just like, oh, it's a 6-month wait or whatever. By that time, too many people could take their lives. It's just that waiting period, which is crazy. So do you have a resource of some sort that is in your book or just in your mind right now you could give people that are saying, I don't know where to go. I want to explore this conversation more. I need help getting started. Well, where can they get help? Or do you have a resource? Do you have a project or a program where they can tap into on your website?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I'm looking to build out more and try to figure out where to take my community offline. So we have that hub of individuals, because that's been a high request. So I am working behind the scenes to make that, become a reality. I would definitely say NAMI, which I do work for part-time.
What's NAMI?
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Oh, okay.
NAMI does provide free support groups for individuals who are experiencing mental health challenges. And, you can really show up as you are. They're confidential spaces. They're across the U.S. So if you just go to NAMI.org, you can plug in where you live and probably find a support group. I'd also say I'd say they are run by individuals with lived experience. They are not mental health professionals.
Hi.
If you are looking more for a mental health professional, I would say BetterHelp is one of the ones that I've heard is really a great resource. I don't think you need to have insurance and to sign up for it.
BetterHelp.org?
Yeah, BetterHelp.
I'll put both of those resources in our description for this show for sure, because that matters. And I believe we all share resources and good recommendations, and we'll give the world some options instead of just leaving them, okay, good luck. Hope you do it. But you definitely, Becca, need to, tap in, because you're really good at what you do. You really genuinely care. I've known you for several months now, and you always show up. You always care. You generally go offline to let somebody know that you really do care, which is really cool. You do those follow-ups. And I can really see you doing the Burn the Burnout retreats and some activities and cruises. And I'm saying that because I'm going to come on them. So please do some retreats and some cruises and some things, because I'm going to be signing up. There's a person on this earth that doesn't either almost get to burnout or get to burnout, whether it's short or long. Let's try to burn the burnout before we get there, or let's try to make the burnout shorter than it has to be. And for everyone who's going to experience it, because again, we all do. We're all lifing in this life, and we all get stressed out. Otherwise, you're not alive. So if we can do it together, it makes it so much more bearable, so much faster and easier to get over, and will leave us with fewer scars. So Becca, I'm going to give you the last word. What would you like to pour into the viewers and the listeners today before we end this episode and send them all to beccaboston.net to burn the burnout?
Whew. And I would always just say that resilience isn't, an overnight result. Resilience is an overtime process. So your current situation is not your final destination. You do have the ability to speak up and give your pain a voice and receive the help that is needed, while staying true to who you are. And I think that's the biggest thing, is remain true to who you are in your situation. Talk about it. Because I guarantee that the more that you talk about it, you will recognize that you are not alone in your situation. There is a big difference between loneliness and being alone. And loneliness is feeling like you're one in a world of 7 billion people, and alone time is needing your quality me time. And it's okay to take that time for yourself to pour into your own cup. So pour into your own cup, recognize that you are one heck of a resilient warrior in this game of life, and know that your strength is giving your pain a voice and receiving the help you need. But no matter what, stay strong, stay you, because you got this.
I love that. I love it. Well, I hope everyone that's listening to the sound of our voices or watching this on the tube or on social media goes to beccaboston.net and sees what you're up to, whether you're watching it currently now in 2024 or down the road years from now. She's not going anywhere. She's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe by the time you tap into her, she will have these cruises and these projects and these events and retreats all set up, and you'll meet us both on them, because we'll be there. I love what you said, Becca, in your closing, that your current situation is not your final destination. Amen to that. We can get through this, but many of us, we need to go through it together, because unfortunately not everybody makes it out of the situation. And we want to try to prevent as many of the people thinking there is no way out as we can. We really, really want to help, really care. So thank you, Becca, for being on Get Celebritized today. Thank you for giving people hope. Thank you for showing up strong as you are and helping others to be the best they can be. So appreciate you.
Appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. Finally did it, got you on the show. Until next time, this is Aurea McGarry, hoping you have learned a little bit of peace, a little inspiration on how to earn more, live more, and give back more. And today, have better self-care and burn that burnout before it happens. So thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time on Get Celebritized. Bye for now.